Friends, welcome to today's, the Thursday of Holy Week, brief overview and inspiration from the last week Jesus walked on earth before his death, according to the Gospel of Mark. A text we will focus on today is Mark 14:12-25, and our theme is, Come sit down, the food is ready. Well, Thursday in the Holy Week is full of drama. When it is evening, Jesus eats a last meal with his disciples and prays for deliverance at Gethsemane. He is betrayed by Judas, denied by Peter, and abandoned by the rest of his disciples. Jesus is then arrested in the darkness, interrogated, and condemned to death by the high priest, his council, and the collaborators of the imperial power. All these things happen before Friday dawn. Therefore, we will begin Friday's overview at sunrise. As you can hear, there are already too many things to discuss here, so I will just focus on the meal with the disciples. The preparation of this meal reminds us a lot of the preparation of Jesus' entry into Jerusalem this past Sunday. Jesus sent two disciples and told them what to look out for and what to say. Sunday's story was about a very public entry against the imperial powers. Today's story is about secrecy. It is to limit Judas's ideas. This meal is important, and Judas could not be allowed to interfere with his own agenda now. It had a web of meaning and is too much to fit into this short time we have together. But 4 quick things are important before we eat this meal online tonight. This is just how Jesus was. He did so many things around meals and food. He included people in a community where there were very strong social boundaries. But it was not just about inclusion, but about food itself too. For Jesus, it was not this piece of food of rituals, or ordinary food. For Jesus, bread really mattered. For these rural followers of his, bread was important. It was an absolute survival item. So this last meal properly emphasizes God's justice through meals and food. See with me God's humanity in it. We see an echo of the 2 fish and 5 loaves. Mark uses 4 verbs at this last meal: take, bless, break, and give. This is exactly what Jesus uses in the story of the 2 fish and 5 loaves. Why did Mark use this reference during that meal? I'm glad you asked that. I'll tell you why. You must see here, just like with the fish and loaves, that Jesus did not let manna fall from heaven. No, he used what was there. The point of the story is not multiplication, but rather distribution. The food that was already there when it passed through Jesus' hands was enough for everyone as the incarnation or embodiment of divine justice. So it became a sacramental symbol and the primary practical program of the kingdom movement. See with me God's humanity in it. This meal naturally also resonated with the Exodus from Egypt, a story of slavery, deliverance, and liberation. It was Jesus' people's most important story they knew. The first Passover meal in Exodus 12 occurred on the evening just before the 10th plague. What was the last plague? The death of the eldest children. That is where the camel's back was broken and the Hebrews were free. This meal had 2 meanings. The blood on the doorposts protected them, and it also served as travel food for their journey to come. The first Passover meal was also the last meal in Egypt, the land of slavery. Yet there was no mention of a substitutionary sacrifice. But this meal in Egypt makes it clear that it is not just about the past, but also about the present. Just replace the empire of Pharaoh with that of Rome, and it is not so difficult to see it. Replace it also with your story of slavery. Whose slave are you, or where in your life are you still a SS slave? See with me God's humanity in it. Lastly, this story is about the body and blood and the death of Jesus. We must understand one thing very clearly about the language Jesus uses here. Blood points to a violent death. If someone died non-violently, there was talk of a separation between body and soul. But if someone died violently, there was talk of a separation of body and blood. That is why Jesus uses the bread and wine separately and not together. This brings us to a second level of essential meaning in Mark's Gospel. We could never speak of Jesus' death as a blood offering if it were not violent. And so Jesus became the new Passover lamb, and this last meal the new Passover. Jesus did not speak of bread and wine merely as symbols of his body and blood. No, he let each disciple, even Judas, participate in the eating of bread as body and wine as blood. Naturally, this was a last attempt to bring them with him from death to life. See with me God's divinity in it. It is again about participation with Jesus and not a substitution by Jesus. And we, like the disciples, are invited to go with Jesus through death to life and resurrection. The last meal is about bread for the world, God's justice against human injustice, a new Passover from slavery to freedom, and participation in the way that leads through death to a new life. Until tomorrow, take care.